Hello, hello. Welcome to All Things Odd. I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips.
I'm Dr. Hannah Galloway.
And
I'm Whitney Hodges.
we were going to actually surprise you guys, but I forgot to take her out. So this is our new resident, Whitney Hodges. And so before we get to kind of talking to her a little bit more today, and I'm going to be sharing this out a little bit, I'm going to have Dr. Galloway talk more about our YouTube channel.
Yes. So how many subscribers do we have? 51. Wow. We're really killing it with the subscribers. I remember when we had 8. So you can go to our YouTube page. There's all the thumbnails of the videos here, and it's easier to send to somebody that doesn't have, social media or something. But you can kind of review all of our old topics here. You can subscribe, and then you'll know when we have a new episode on Thursdays.
Yeah. So you guys are used to kind of seeing Mary Kate. She is actually taking her exam today. So we have Whitney. She started this week. She's had some interesting patients that she's seen with us. If you guys have questions, as always, put it in the comments, or if you want to say hi to Whitney, put it in the comments so that she can feel better and feel more comfortable being here. It's her first time on camera, but she was totally willing to be a great sport about it. It gets easier, but we're going to introduce you to her and learn a little bit more about her so that you guys know her as well as where she came from. So luckily we got a local student this year, and she'll be with us for a whole year. So you'll see her face on some of these shows. If you come into our office, you'll see her smiling face, and she'll be working with some of our patients with us. But she's actually from UNC, or University of Northern Colorado, where actually Dr. Galloway went to school as well for part of her schooling. And so Whitney, I want you to kind of just share with people who are tuning in, a little bit more about your audiology journey and what brought you here to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Dr. Phillips said, I am a student at the University of Northern Colorado. I actually also did my undergraduate degree there as well. So I'm a bear through and through. I actually had the opportunity to first meet Dr. Phillips at a panel that we had in one of my classes. It was a bunch of different types of audiologists came in and were sharing about their jobs and their experiences and what it's like a day in the life in their job. And so I was really interested in what Dr. Phillips had to say. And so I actually reached out to her and asked if I could come shadow at her practice here in Fort Collins. And I believe I came about 2 or 3 times, and I was able to shadow actually all 3, both Dr. Phillips and Dr. Galloway and Mary Kate as well, and meet some of the patients here. And so when it came time to start applying for my residency, I definitely knew that they were at the top of my list. So I'm really happy and excited to be here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was so glad that we had a local student as well. Kind of local. She is a little bit further away. So she drives from a town that's a little bit further away. So bless her heart. She's still willing to come in every day to be here. But how long is your drive, Whitney?
It's about, if I'm not staying with friends, I drive from Sterling. So if you guys are familiar with the northeast corner, that's about an hour and 45 minutes away. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So if you guys like books, you can tell me some of your favorites and give me something to listen to on my drives.
Yeah. So for our friends that are tuning in, we share this show in some of the audiology groups too. So if you're just tuning in, this is our new audiology resident. She started with us this week, and she does have an hour and 45-minute drive every day if she's not staying here locally with some friends. So if you have some great podcasts, some great books on tape, or audio books, I should say, books on tape ages me, but audio books for her, put it in the comments if you're watching this later on. Wondering who this new face is, definitely tune in, meet Whitney, because she's going to be here with us for the next year. And then put some comments in there about maybe some great great audiobooks and some other podcasts or something that she can listen to on her really long drive here. So is there anything in audiology with our practice? And then I'll have Dr. Galloway, know that she's got some questions too, but is there anything that excites you about audiology and that maybe you've seen in the time that you were here during your observation with us?
So one really unique thing about this practice here is that it's totally comprehensive, and that's not something that you find, especially in the private practice realm. And so I've already gotten to experience multiple vestibular tests. I know we're going to have some cochlear implant patients tomorrow, as well as just, of course, working with hearing loss as well as tinnitus. So I'm really excited to be able to get a really comprehensive experience here and get to work with a lot of different people. Coming from a farming community and more rural, one thing that I'm really passionate about is noise and hearing loss prevention. So that's where my big passion is in audiology.
Awesome. Well, and also just to kind of remind everybody or people that aren't audiologists watching, so the audiology, like kind of graduate work, how it works is it's either, well, some of them are condensed, but it's usually a 4-year program. The first 2.5, 3 years, you're in classes, on campus. And then the last year, it's like a medical residency. So you work full time, you work your butt off, your brain hurts every day, you learn so much. And then at the end of that year, you graduate. So we actually have Mary Kate graduating this weekend from the University of Kansas. So go Dr. Donegan. And then we will have Whitney with us for the next year. And then she will be graduating in May. So it's pretty exciting to just kind of know the journey of the education. And we always try to let patients know, she's a doctorate student. I think sometimes the patients are like, oh, is it an undergraduate student? Like they don't have any idea. And so we always try to make sure that, they know how much she knows before she even gets here and how she's just kind of able to see some different things in our office. And actually, Dr. Phillips was my supervisor. So when I was a 4th year, Dr. Phillips was my supervisor. And that was 7 years ago, I think. And so it's kind of funny because it's like all in the family. Dr. Phillips was my supervisor. Now I'm Whitney's supervisor. And so it's kind of cool to just see that perpetuate. Mm-hmm. Whitney, tell us about your doctoral research. So typically to graduate, you have to do some sort of a research project, kind of like a dissertation. Mine was on FM systems. Will you tell us kind of about yours and what you found out?
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned previously, I grew up in a real rural community. My dad and both my grandpas are farmers. And so when I was thinking about what I wanted to do my project on, because it is a project that you work on for like 2.5 years, I really wanted to somehow tie the passion of audiology with a passion of where I'm from, my community, my family. And so I really wanted to work with youth that are involved in agriculture and farming. One really cool thing about UNC is we actually have a professor there who helped develop, it's called Dangerous Decibels, and it is a noise prevention program that's aimed at youth. And it's been adapted and tailored to different populations. And so what I did was I tailored that program to youth who are in farming and agriculture. So some of the things that I did for that program was rewrite the whole program so it pertained more to individuals in that field. I also was able to do research on different types of noise that's unique to farming. Once I found those sounds that I wanted to use, I figured out how long someone could be safely exposed before it could cause damage to their hearing, how much time it would be appropriate for them to be around that sound. And I also was able to apply hearing loss filters to different sounds so that individuals could understand how, if they don't protect their ears and develop hearing loss, how it can affect everyday sounds like equipment, animals, even safety signals, and how that's really important. And so that was such a fun project, and I'm really excited for where it could go. I hope to be able to deliver it to 4-H clubs and to high school FFA groups. So it was really fun. It was a lot of work, but it was worth it. And it was really, I know, special to my dad to actually tell him that I was able to tie in farming with my doctoral program. So
that's very cool. Yes, I'm
Mhm.
familiar with dangerous decibels just to the extent of that it's, a hearing conservation program for children. I also went through UNC, so worked with Dr. Meinke on some of that. And I think it's really cool to adapt it to that population. Because like culture is different, it might be a different age range. It might be like mostly boys or, so it's kind of cool to be able to adapt it so that it's more well used.
yes.
Yeah. I have a question. So just curious, how did you measure the different sounds? Because just again, we're kind of talking intergenerationally, right? Like before, when I like one of my projects to graduate to was doing that, and I did it at a tuna packaging plant in American Samoa. And
Cool.
so we walked around, I walked around with my professor and took a sound level meter and a dosimeter, around, and we made this huge long hearing conservation program. And it was super cool. So did you use the old fashioned type of sound level meters? I know that phones now have sound level meters. I know you get you get notifications on your watch when it's too loud. So like, what kind of equipment did you use to measure your sounds that you were
So
making?
for this program, I was really lucky in that there is a lot of research on different farm equipment and different animals. Livestock is a better word for that. And so a lot of it I was able to find in research. One thing I was not able to find in research was chickens. I happen to have a friend who raises chickens, and so she was able to help me out with that. But yeah, the NIOSH app on the Apple iPhone is what I used.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was really lucky to not have to actually go out and collect as much as I was initially thinking I would have to.
Mhm.
And then another, how I applied the hearing loss filter is NIOSH has a very cool simulator that you can actually go in and apply different types of hearing loss. So we just picked kind of a generic noise notch hearing loss, and then that's what the type of hearing loss we applied to it. And then or I should say I had to create different noise clips of that and record all of those with the hearing loss filter, and then created a game where an individual would listen to the sound with the hearing loss filter and try to match it with the sound that they thought it belonged to. So that was really fun to do during my presentation to my committee. So
Very cool.
Very cool. Talking about the generational thing, I did use a sound level meter whenever I was in school. We went to New Belgium, the beer the
Mhm.
brewery, and we were able to like measure sound on the bottling and the packaging lines. And Dr. Meinke, I believe, probably still uses like a sound level meter for probably all the research, I would guess.
Mhm.
Just because it probably has more, specific or whatever, and probably records different. But it was cool to do that and just see what that would look like if that was your job. Like if you were an industrial audiologist, what you would be doing, which is kind of cool.
That's really actually kind of cool if you think about it, that we all did something like that. Because even within our different schooling too, and at different times, like hearing conservation is typically not the biggest thing that's discussed,
Right.
And so for all three of us to have had that experience while we were in school at some capacity, maybe it wasn't like our final project, but it was something that we
Right.
were involved in. That's actually kind of cool. So yeah, so that makes this practice even better because all three of us have some sort of kind of experience with hearing conservation programs. And so it's really kind of cool to do that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love
industrial audiology is just a very different type of audiology. I mean,
Mhm.
I think audiology is so interesting because you could do all these different things. And that is something that to me seems so outside of what I normally do as far as like entering the patient, like testing their hearing. It would be a very different experience, but I think it could be really rewarding too. Like companies like New Belgium that really care about their employees, they have these really great, programs developed and they kind of get all the employees on board. And it's not like something they're annoyed to do. I don't think. I think it's more of like they care about me and they're, trying to protect me kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Very cool. Well, I just have to add this in as well. So when I was in undergrad, I went to CU Boulder, and this has nothing to do with hearing conservation, but it was very similar. I was in, I don't even remember what the class was, but it was some kind of energy conservation class. And so our group actually went to Coors, and because we were in Denver, and we walked around and we measured the energy that they were using from every single light bulb. And then we would take the wattage and then figure that out and put numbers to it. And we had to write this whole program on how to reduce their energy by the wattage calculations and everything, and how much money that would save them per year. And I remember having to, and I literally slapped it down and said, okay, if you follow our directions, you would be saving X, whatever $1 million. And I always wondered if they ever kind of took that into consideration, but it was similar to hearing conservation, but it was more energy conservation. I thought that was kind of interesting, because I was like, wait a minute, I did something at Course too. And it kind of came back to me what we were doing. And I totally remember that as well. So that's kind of interesting too, with just what we're talking about. And didn't know this was going to take the hearing conservation kind of, or industrial audiology type of path that it did. But I just think it's kind of interesting that we can kind of all be related in that way as well. So again, we're welcoming Whitney. She had a pretty exciting week this week, seeing patients with us. And she's going to be here with us for the next year. Say hello, comment in the comments, as well as when we are going live with our weekly shows, she'll be on and be kind of talking about topics with us as well. So if you have any topics that you want us to talk about or cover, as always, just put it in the comments, let us know, reach out to us somehow by direct message as well. But we'll try to cover some things that are interesting to everybody joining in. So thanks for joining in today, and we will be back next week with a new show. So we'll see you then. All right.
Thanks.
Bye.